Welcome to this video. The candidates tournament is nearing its end. We're on round 12 today, 3 rounds to go still, and this video is about the game Topalov playing white against Svidler playing black. Quickly, the situation for both players before the game. Topalov is on a -2 score, being on last place at the moment, while Svidler is on 50% and still has at least some theoretical chances to catch Arnold. He would need a win though. Besides the final game that he will play against Arnold, he will probably need to win as well. So Svidler needs to get something going, maybe even in this game with black. Let's see what happened. Topalov with e4. He's varying a lot his opening moves. He had played an English opening against Siclian yesterday, and now we got a Sicilian. Svidler is going for the Taimanov variation, which is not one of his normal choices, but he had played it earlier in the tournament against Siclian in the very first round, I think. Knight c3, and now queen c7, bishop e3, a6. We are following that game, but now Topalov plays bishop to e2, a more strategically inclined move, where white is going to castle short, most likely. It's not a given, but it's very likely that this is going to happen. Yeah, here black's main move actually is knight f6, and after castles, normal choice, black plays bishop to b4, which is giving this line its own flavor. It's one of the rare lines in the Sicilian where you actually can develop your bishop to b4. And after that we get entirely different positions where white very often plays with the move knight to a4. This didn't happen. Svidler played another move. He played the move b5, which I eyed with some interest because this is a line that I had played myself quite a lot with black in the 1990s. It makes me feel very old. I had played this quite a lot. It's an interesting way to play in the Sicilian, that it's not so overloaded with theoretical lines and enforcing variations. b5 is a typical Sicilian move anyway, and therefore fits in black's general scheme of things. White's best move is what Topalov played, the capture here on c6. And now Svidler decided to take with the pawn. And already he had spent some minutes. I wonder for what move exactly. He retook some time for b5. Interesting. Yeah, okay, after the capture, he took with the pawn. And this is not how I played it. I always had played queen takes c6 back then. It keeps the typical Sicilian structure alive. Of course, black is far behind in development. This is clear. White has 3 minor pieces out already, can even castle here. But black, well, he has got some things going for him. A good setup on the diagonal. And you get your stuff developed as well. Knight f6, bishop b7. It's not quickly going to open the center. So this is actually the normal move, queen takes c6. Svidler took with the pawn, and I'm honest with you, I don't like this move really. The problem is that after this a4 here, the question is what should black do now? He decided to push the pawn relatively quickly, and it's not clear what else he should do. He could play bishop to b7, but you're falling behind in development so much. And also, if you look at this, what happens here? Here white can even take on b5. This is going to get very, very ugly. C takes. Yeah, I also take. Black must probably play rook to d8, an intermediate move. And yeah, probably he didn't like that so much. It seems like a playable position though for black. As mentioned, he pushed b4, and this is a move that I personally would be very reluctant to make, simply because the ensuing pawn structure is so convenient for white. I'm going to put a few more moves on the board to show the structure. This is what I mean. White gets this post on c4 for the knight while black's bishop is always biting on this granite-like structure on e4. And also d5 is controlled by the pawn on e4. It's not so clear what black's pieces are doing. While white has a very clearly defined plan. He's got this excellent knight on c4, and he will try to open up the queen side with means of c3. This structure is very, very one-sided. I mean, black has a solid position. It's not like he's going to go down quickly, but just look a couple of moves later, which is all very logical. Bishop f4 provoked e5, which was played by Svidler. Bishop g3. He needed to do that. You simply don't have a square for your queen. This is also not great. And this is, yeah, also, yeah, well, not great. You need to play e5 really. And now you even have this e5 weakness. So white has various ideas to play on that weakness, like knight here, bishop c4, knight to d5. And black does not have any clearly defined counterplay. It is still, as mentioned, a very solid structure. This is intending bishop to g5, which also happened quite soon. Yeah, white has played c3. This is clear. You want to open the queen side at some point, and you're in a position where c3 is just giving you more options than black has, because while taking is normally out of the question, as it would weaken the pawn structure even more. Yeah, rook d1 getting on the open file, rook d8 and b3. I think all this is very logical play. And now Svidler goes for bishop g5, activating this piece. Bishop f2 and knight to f8. And really, I really like this idea for black. He's trying to play knight to e6. And then after the c-pawn has moved in some way, like capturing, or black maybe can capture, then he will get the d4 square for the knight. So this is a good way to activate pieces. I think this was well played. However, now after the capture Topalov now took, Svidler surprisingly went for c takes b4. He took with the c-pawn, and I think this lands black into really big trouble. I mean, before that, it's just like I said, it's not a very convenient position. White is always somewhat better, but after this recapture with the c-pawn, I think it gets very serious for black. I think he needed to take with the a-pawn. And the idea is that in this structure, you have the idea to get the knight to d4 quite quickly. White is still more comfortable. Let's say after knight b2, for example, you can exchange those bishops. And you have the more convenient pawn structure, no? On light squares, the good bishop. It's somewhat nicer for white, but black has some play. He will get the knight to d4. And this is something. I mean, if white is somehow obliged to take it, obliged is the wrong word, is somehow forced or provoked to take it, then at least you get a pawn, a passer on d4. This is, I believe, a bit more comfortable for white, but still a rather playable position. He took with the c-pawn, however, and now it gets very difficult for black. There is this move bishop b6, quite simply, and
check.
This is now forced. Otherwise you give up material. Yeah, and now you don't really have a good square for your queen now. a5 is hanging as well, so you need to attend to that. Where do you go with the queen? You go here. You're going to get hit with rook d6. It's not helping at all. And yeah, where else, frankly? Here? No, I can just go here. Attack on a5, attack on e5, and I'm going to win one of the pawns. It's not nice at all. He went to b8, and now Topalov just increased the pressure further. He retreated back to f2. Taking on a5 was not possible yet, of course. After bishop a5, bishop c4, there is this hanging. But this is just a strong move. It intends to play knight to b6 and keeps the option of rook d5 in the position. After this, yeah, black is really in big trouble. He played queen to c7. Maybe bishop d8 was a tougher defense. Controlling b6 and keeping an eye on the pawn. It's still very, very nice for white after rook d5. Well, can try to defend like knight e6, knight d4, and maybe bishop to c7, but it's a very passive defense. Let's say something like that here. Can try to somewhat yeah, setting up something like a defensive fortress, everything covered. It's very defensive, but still not like losing immediately. I understand that he didn't want to play that. Svidler, he also was a bit down on time. Topalov was playing quite quickly. He went queen c7. Now after rook d5, yeah, it's not defensible anymore. e5 and a5. Played rook c8, and now h4 was played by Topalov. Quite amazingly, he spent 10 minutes on that, and he didn't go for rook c5, which is a very clean win actually. Queen is attacked, and the next move I just take that. It's just the pawn e5 for nothing really. Well, h4 it probably also will win, but rook c5 was much simpler. Queen d2, and there's still the problem with the hanging pawns. And what should black move? You cannot even move the knight because of rook d7. It's a terribly passive position. The knight is the real problem. That was given up by this early b4 move. It gives up this square, the c4 square, for the knight, and this is basically the source of all the problems that black had in this game. Of course, he could have defended somewhat better, but it's simply giving up a bit too much early, those squares on the queen side. Yeah, he defended with rook d8 now, or try to defend after bishop b6. Black, of course, needed to take. Queen takes, queen b8, and now just queen takes f5. Those pawns are falling now. Yeah, he played on a couple of moves, captured here, queen d6, but after the simple retreat,
check,
and here king h2, black is completely out of moves. White will simply go to d5 and then let the a-pawn run. Completely winning position, and Svidler resigned. Yeah, a relatively simple game to watch, really, and also to do comments upon, because, well, this gave away lots of ground on the queen side, and it led to a very, very comfortable position for white, and which only could be defended with absolutely precise play, which Svidler simply couldn't get on the road. I mean, around here, if you take with the a-pawn, it's not exactly brilliant, but this is certainly a position that black can try to defend. But this was giving away far too much ground. So for the tournament, this has basically the consequence that Svidler is completely out of the picture in terms of upsetting Anand, pretty much regardless of what he has played today. Svidler is now on -1, the same as Topalov. They both share, not sure if they share last place. I think -1 is what they all have. The bottom of the table. It's a very, very close field in this tournament. Yeah, Svidler had a really up and down tournament. He's got good games and wins, and this kind of sometimes pretty drastic losses. Certainly good for Topalov to win a game again after he has suffered a lot in recent rounds. And he played a fine game, nothing to criticize. He always kept the pressure on. The only thing that here he could have played rook c5 to finish off things even quicker, but a win is a win is a win at the end of the day. Alright, quick video, but there is really not much else to say. This was a bit of an opening inflicted trouble that he got himself in, and then he didn't defend to its best. Alright, thanks for watching.